When students finally reach Chapter 5 of an academic research project, many of them feel relieved. They think, at last, the project is almost finished. And yes, they are close to the end. But Chapter 5 is not just a formality. In fact, Chapter 5 is where your research story comes together. It is where you summarize your entire research journey. It is where you interpret what your results truly mean. It is where you draw logical conclusions and make practical recommendations. In chapters 1 to 4 were the foundation and investigation. Then chapter 5 is the final academic judgment of your study. A weak chapter 5 can make a strong project look incomplete, but a well-written chapter 5 shows that the researcher truly understands the study. So, today we'll carefully walk through how to write chapter 5 of an academic research project in a clear, structured, and professional way. Let's talk about what chapter 5 is meant to achieve. Chapter 5 normally contains 3 major sections, and they are 1. Summary of the study, 2. Conclusion, 3. Recommendations. Some institutions may also include contribution to knowledge, limitations of the study, and suggestion for further research, but the core structure remains the same. Let us now explain each section clearly. The summary of the study is not a repetition of whole project. Instead, it is a structured recap of the key parts of the research. The goal is to help the reader quickly understand what the research was about, how it was conducted, and what the major findings were. A good summary usually covers these key elements. 1. The research problem, which begins by briefly reminding the reader why the study was conducted. Example: this study was conducted to examine the influence of study habits on the academic performance of undergraduate students. You have to keep it short and clear. Another thing is objectives of the study. Next, you need to restate the main objectives of your study at this point. Example is, the objectives of the study were to examine the relationship between study habits and academic performance. That is one objective. Then, you can also have to determine whether time management influences students' academic outcome. Here, you're meant not to explain them again, just restate them. Another section you have is methodology used. You are meant to briefly explain how the research was conducted. You are just to mention your research design, your population, your sample size, your sampling technique, your data collection method, and your data analysis method. You can have this example. The study adopted a descriptive survey research design. The population consisted of undergraduate students at selected university in Abuja. A sample of 200 students was selected using simple random sampling. Data were collected through structured questionnaires and analyzed using descriptive statistics and regression analysis through SPSS. You can see that this is short and precise. So, another thing you need to talk about is your key findings. Now you have to highlight the most important results from chapter 4. Example, you may have this as your example. The findings revealed that effective study habits significantly improve academic performance. Time management was also found to have a positive relationship with students' academic success. Here, your meant not to present table again, just interpret the key discovery. So, we have the conclusion, which is another part you need to attend to. So, the conclusion answers the big question. So, what do these findings really mean? The conclusion is a logical statement drawn from your findings. You can have this example in this case. You may have something like this. Based on the findings of this study, it can be conducted that students who develop structured study habits and effective time management strategies tend to achieve better academic outcomes. A good conclusion should connect directly to the research objectives. A good conclusion should reflect the study findings. A good conclusion should avoid introducing new information. Think of the conclusion as the final academic judgment of the study. So, and then you have the recommendations. Recommendation is one of the most practical parts of research projects. There are actionable suggestions based on the findings of the study. They must not be random advice. They must rather come directly from what the research discover. Example: if your finding shows that study habits influence academic performance, your recommendation could be: universities should organize workshops to help students develop effective study habits. Another example can be: academic counselors should guide students on effective time management strategies. As you could see, each recommendation must clearly solve the problem identified in the study. Another section you need to attend to is limitation of the study. No research is perfect. Every study has certain limitations. So, your limitations may include limited sample size, limited geographical area, time constraints, and financial constraints. Example: this study focused only on undergraduate students in selected university in Abuja. Therefore, the findings may not fully represent students in other regions. Friends, being honest about limitations actually strengthens the credibility of the research. So you have a suggestion for further study, as you may see in other institutions. Template: every study opens the door for more investigations, and where you are to write a suggestion for further study, you may have this. You may structure it to follow this format. Future study may examine the relationship between study habits and academic performance across multiple universities in Nigeria. You could also have something like this. Further research may investigate the role of digital learning tools in shaping students' study habits. This shows academic maturity. Writing Chapter 5 of an academic research project is not just about ending the project. It is about demonstrating that the researcher truly understands the meaning of the study. In Chapter 5, you show the reader what was discovered, why it matters, and how the findings can be applied in real life. A strong Chapter 5 leaves the reader with clarity. It shows that the research journey, from problem identification in Chapter 1 to data analysis in Chapter 4, has led to meaningful conclusions. And when your Chapter 5 is clear, structured, and practical, your entire research project becomes stronger. In the next episode, we will explore how to prepare and defend your research project confidently before academic supervisors and examiner. Stay with us, do subscribe, and share with others. Thank you.